Hey, good evening, Pipers. Hope everybody's doing good. Just wanted to stop in and visit and have a pipe with my friends. So get out your favorite pipe and your favorite blend, and let's chat a little while. Tonight I'm going to be smoking a Mac Baren blend. It's Virginia #1, and I honestly can't remember if I've done a review on it or not. I don't think I have, but at any rate, I will get around to doing one. And this is a great little blend from our friends at Mac Baren and Sutliff, and this is good all-day smoke here. I'm going to be smoking it in a little Hardcastle Bulldog. I hadn't smoked this one. I've had smoked it on several videos, but I haven't smoked this pipe in probably a month. Just kind of got to put aside, and I've already got the char light, so we're going to light it up and get started on this thing. I've got a couple of reviews in the pipeline, so to speak. A couple of Sutliff reviews that I promised out and hadn't got them. I've got them recorded, but hadn't got them downloaded. So if you see those come up and they appear to be dated, they really are. You know, it's just they're a little late getting out. But sometimes, and there's no rhyme or reason. Now 15, of course, they're not that long. They're 5 or 6 minutes a piece, I think. One, maybe 8, I don't know. But anyway, on a 15-minute video, sometimes I can download it in 25 minutes. Sometimes it'll take 90, and I don't know if some of y'all experience that or know of a faster way to download one. It would sure help if you could let me know. But this is truly a good smoke. You know, I've said it on videos before. I'm kind of like Will Rogers. He's never met a man he didn't like. I've yet to meet a Mac Baren that I didn't like. So, come on now, just filled it up. Maybe it was trying to flood, kind of like my boat motor. But before I get going too far, I want to ask for some help from any of you pipers out there. And I seen a video on this very subject, and it's some months ago, and I have searched and can't find it anywhere. My little Erickson pipe that was a birthday gift for my son. He picked this up at Tinderbox, and it came from Don Juan in New Orleans. About a month ago, I tightened the stem too tight in it, and I managed to get it out. And this part, and I don't know if that's a tenon or what, but anyhow, this part, this little black plastic piece that's in the shank needs to come out because it's supposed to be in the stem. And it loosened from the stem and got stuck in the shank, and it's in there too tight. And I could probably take some pliers and do it, but I'm just afraid to. And the reason I'm asking, I seen a video. It's not an issue. It still smokes. I just want it. It's a little looser than it should be, and I want it certainly back right. And this has a ton of sentimental value. He picked this one out himself. Brought it to me. It was totally unexpected. This was his taste in a pipe, and this means this pipe. I love the way it smokes, but above all, it's one of my favorite pipes because of the sentimental value that it carries. I could take it to a pipe shop, but I want to fix it myself. Well, one of the things a gentleman did, and I don't remember if he used the heating method, whether he took a lighter, heated this up. Of course, the problem is in the briar part, whether he heated it and it came out or he put it in a freezer and it loosened it. I don't know whether to use the hot or cold method. So y'all help me if you can. Probably it's my thinking that you'd want to use the heat when it's to be sealed in this one. I'm hoping maybe putting it in the freezer may loosen it. If any of y'all know, shoot me a line in below or whatever and let me know, or private message me, whatever you feel comfortable with. But I would sure like to know. You know, to be crowding 50, 48 years old, and to, for lack of a better phrase, just now discovering John Lennon. I mean, not that I just discovered him, but I just really started kind of listening to his music and watching some videos on YouTube. And I became very interested in him. I am kind of a self-proclaimed music historian to some degree, and I listen to everything but rap. I mean, I have a wide genre of music that I like. I mean, I listen to, and I'm not much on the new rock and the new country music, but I certainly love the classic country from the 50s up through about the mid to late 80s, and after that, that's, to me, is when country music went downhill. Pretty much the same way with rock and roll. I'm really into classic rock. But over the years, I've taken many musical subjects, artists, and just as a hobby, and it's certainly gotten easier with the advent of internet. But I'll get on a particular person, and I do a lot of in-depth reading and studying, and so now I'm kind of on the John Lennon kick. But I do a lot of research. It's just a hobby. It's something I do in my spare time. I study them and do a lot of reading and research. Two of my favorites, of course, I just kind of got through doing, it didn't last as long with her. It's not one of my favorites, but I enjoyed it. It was Billie Holiday. Did a lot of research on her, and just a very interesting lady, and so certainly a tragic figure. Another tragic figure that I have studied since I was a child, and 10, 11 years old, started reading about this individual, and he certainly was a tragic figure, was Hank Williams. And I have done research on him, like I say, since I was a child, and have read, talked on the phone to a lot of people, met a lot of people in his life in person, had the privilege of visiting, and very, very interesting man. His music, he was called a musical genius, and certainly his voice was not the best. And I wonder if, the man died at 29 years old, and of course he certainly looked a lot older than that, but I've often wondered where he would have been, what would have happened to his career had he have lived. And he certainly had a lot of personal problems. Would it have bottomed out? Would it have continued to grow? Who knows? But he wrote a lot of songs, and a lot of songs that you wouldn't even think. And for that age era in the early 50s, and his primary popularity began to take off in 1949, but from 50, 51, and 52, he was just, at that age, was the first superstar. He was the first music star that really, especially in the country music genre, that just absolutely was selling out places, and just the amount of #1 records that he had out was just astronomical. Of course, if you look at his earnings, was nothing compared to today, but in those days it was a lot of money. And he just, like I say, led a very tragic life, and very interesting. If you ever get a chance to read up on him on the internet, or grab a book from the library, he's certainly a good subject to study. And we don't live too far from Shreveport. As y'all know, I buy a lot of stuff from MA's there at Shreveport, but Shreveport was also home of the Louisiana Hayride, which was a big radio show and stage show from the 40s on up through the 60s, and it was kind of like WSM radio. The radio station there in Shreveport, which is still in existence today, it's more of a hard rock type deal. It's KWKH, or the last time I tuned into it over there it went to a hard rock genre. But KWKH and WSM were two very powerful stations in those days that you could pick up pretty much nationwide, with the exception of a dozen, 8 or 10, 12 states maybe. But and of course they broadcast to the armed forces overseas, and well, WSM in Nashville had kind of the where everybody wanted to get in that time, the Grand Ole Opry, and of course the Opry at that point was you had to be based out of the Opry. They pretty much managed your career, and the endorsement from them was just like second to none. Of course, they paid them very little to come on Friday and Saturday to perform there. It's very, very minimal, but their booking strength and the credentials that they carried for them nationwide was just unspeakable. Well, the Louisiana Hayride was kind of like the minor leagues. You usually started there and then worked your way up to the Hayride. It was a stepping stone. To the Grand Ole Opry, it was a stepping stone. And I've had the privilege, of course, now you can go in and tour the thing, and as a museum, the old auditorium over there. But I was able to get in years and years ago and talk to some people and met some people that knew a lot of people, and visited for hours and hours and talked to some folks that really answered a lot of questions on several artists. It's very interesting. The other one that I did, and I've done a big in-depth study on too, was the killer Jerry Lee Lewis, who, by the way, is a pipe smoker. To this day, still smokes a pipe. He's a very interesting, had a great time. Of course, he was very controversial and very colorful, but it was a true enjoyment reading about him. And of course, he still lives just below Memphis in North Mississippi, a little town called Nesbit. He's still there. And, I managed to become friends with him and his wife on Facebook, and his daughter, and just got to be a part of their private lives a little bit. And very interesting. Man, I've sent him pipe tobacco from MAs. He really likes the Ralph's mix, but I was told by his wife, and he hasn't said it, but his wife said he keeps Captain Black in the gold pouch on hand and the white pouch. That's two of his favorites. So, come on here. But I'm kind of on the John Lennon deal, so I'm going to start some research on him, and it's just a hobby, kind of like pipe smoking, and it's like I say, the music ones are the ones that appeal to me. I've done it on Patsy Cline, Jim Reeves. A lot of the country music ones held my interest. But old Jerry Lee was a very interesting one, to say the least. I'll share some stories with y'all one day when we've got more time. We're running a little low now. Boy, it don't take long to get to 15 minutes. This spider. Good smoke, this Mac Baren, Virginia. Oh, and Hank Williams Jr. I've been a big fan of his too, and I really went to see him the very first time in Monroe in the late 70s. He was actually in a smaller part of our Civic Center, which only holds a couple thousand people. There wasn't but about 500 there, and that was when he was first getting started on his own. Very small number. By the time he got into about his fifth song, there wasn't but me and about another 100 people there. Most of them had got up and left. They just didn't like his new deal. I've seen him 5 times. I've seen him when there was less than 500, and I've seen him when back to Monroe and had 15,000. So sold out and couldn't get a ticket. So anyhow, I'm gonna wrap this one up. I won't be such a stranger. I'll get back to making a few here and try to throw one up tomorrow and maybe get a review up. But until then, y'all have a good one. God bless, and get you some of this Mac Baren's Virginia #1. It's good stuff.